adds context and keeps viewers engaged. Title idea: Nigerians want to leave South Africa? The untold story behind rising tensions. Script: what we are witnessing right now in South Africa is not just another wave of protests. It is something deeper, something more complicated, and frankly, something that forces uncomfortable questions about identity, economy, and leadership across the African continent. At least 130 Nigerian citizens have reportedly requested to be repatriated, asking their government to fly them back home. This comes after renewed protests targeting undocumented foreigners in South Africa. On the surface, it may look like a simple case of fear, people wanting to escape rising hostility. But if you dig deeper, the situation reveals a much bigger story. First, let's understand the environment these Nigerians are reacting to. South Africa has been facing serious economic challenges for years now. High unemployment, especially among young people, has created frustration. When people feel locked out of opportunities, they start looking for someone to blame. And often, that blame shifts toward foreign nationals, especially those perceived to be competing for jobs or running small businesses in local communities. But here's where things get complicated. The narrative that foreign nationals are taking jobs or causing crime is widely debated. Many economists and analysts argue that migrants often create their own economic opportunities. They open shops, provide services, and operate in spaces where locals sometimes don't. In many cases, they contribute to the economy rather than drain it. Yet perception is powerful, and perception in this case is driving action. The protests we're seeing are not just about undocumented foreigners. They are a reflection of deeper systemic issues: poverty, inequality, and a lack of trust in leadership. When people feel their government is not delivering, they turn their frustrations outward. Now let's talk about the Nigerians specifically. Nigeria has one of the largest diasporas in Africa. Nigerians are known for their entrepreneurial spirit, and many have built businesses across South Africa, from small retail shops to larger enterprises. But with that visibility comes vulnerability. When tensions rise, visible communities often become targets. The fact that at least 130 Nigerians have already asked to leave tells us something important. Fear is real. Whether or not every protest directly targets them, the atmosphere has become uncertain enough that people are reconsidering their safety and future. And think about what that decision means. Leaving a country is not easy. These are individuals who likely spent years building lives, businesses, and connections. Choosing to return home is not just about physical safety. It's about abandoning investments, dreams, and stability. So this is not a small development. It's a signal. A signal that the situation on the ground is serious enough to push people toward drastic choices. But we also need to look at the role of governments here, both South Africa and Nigeria. On South Africa's side, the government faces a delicate balancing act. On one hand, it must address citizens' concerns about unemployment and crime. On the other hand, it has a responsibility to protect all people within its borders, regardless of nationality. Failure to manage this balance can lead to cycles of violence, retaliation, and long-term damage to the country's image and economy. On Nigeria's side, the response is equally important. The foreign minister acknowledging the situation shows awareness, but citizens will be watching closely. Will the government act quickly? Will it provide support for those returning? Will it engage diplomatically to protect Nigerians who choose to stay? Because let's be honest, 130 people is just the beginning. If tensions escalate, that number could grow. And that brings us to a bigger question. What does this mean for Africa as a whole? For years, there has been talk of African unity, free movement of people, stronger economic ties and collaboration across borders. But moments like this expose the gap between vision and reality. How can there be true integration if citizens feel unsafe in other African countries? How can economies grow together if mistrust keeps rising? This situation is not just about South Africa and Nigeria. It's about the future of regional cooperation. If left unaddressed, it could set a precedent, one where migration within Africa becomes more difficult, more dangerous, and more politicized. At the same time, it's important to avoid oversimplifying the issue. Not all South Africans support these protests. Many reject xenophobia and advocate for peaceful coexistence. Civil society groups, community leaders,